Good morning. How are you? Okay, so I titled this today, Can We Trust the Government to Design Our Families? I figured that would maybe get the attention of a few people. If you have followed me for any, first let me introduce myself. My name is Kirsten Liebelt, and I'm a Minnesota mom of 3 adult children, and we homeschooled for 20 years. And if you have followed any of my content, you know that primary to what I really tout and talk about a lot, especially if you have followed me on TikTok, which, by the way, that handle is, I'm always Kirsten Liebelt on social media, but on that one channel on TikTok, it's Homeschool Your Way. That was the best way that I could just say what I was going to talk about on that channel the easiest. So Homeschool Your Way. But if you followed any of my content, you know that my biggest piece of information, or my biggest piece of my core belief, is that we have to design our own families. And in fact, yesterday I had made a post here on Instagram saying, in 5 years, nobody is going to ask you whether or not the decisions you made today were the right ones for your family. Something close to that. And I really believe that. Like, we're all so worried about what everybody else thinks, and we're not understanding that everybody is living their own life. They're designing their own life. They're not paying attention. I mean, they might have a comment or an opinion here and there, but for the most part, they're not paying any attention. Well, this is like a really important topic, right? Because if we don't design our families, who's going to design our family? Well, if we have them in a system that's 40 hours a week, then that system is going to design our family. Wherever that is, right? So whoever they spend, a lot of their time with, especially when it comes to they're being taught how to function, mostly from another system. Okay, you get my point. So I wanted to give you 3 tips. 3 tips on how to be more successful at this. Because I think people go, well, but how do I do that? Or what does that look like? Or, what can I do to actually create a design? And I want to help you. So grab a piece of paper and a pen if you would like to write them down, or share it with a friend, or just commit it to memory. Although I have heard it said, trust a long pencil more than you trust a short memory. But anyway, I digress. Okay, number 1. So visualize what you want. I didn't know that I had a visualization in my head at all of what I wanted for my family. It never dawned on me, and I've told the story before, but my son, who's now 32, he was 5, and we put him in kindergarten, and I was standing at the washing machine, and I was super upset. And I remember just standing there crying and saying, God, this isn't how it was supposed to be. And we would send him to kindergarten, and he would come home, and we would just discipline him the whole time, and I hated it. I don't know if he was frustrated because of the system he was in, if he felt like he wasn't heard, if he was just picking up bad behaviors. I never actually found out why. Because I knew ultimately nothing bad had happened. It just created behavior that we were not fond of. And so I was like, oh, and I didn't even know that I had like this thought in my head of how I wanted my family to be, but I did. And that wasn't it. Whatever that was, that wasn't it. So I actually remember visualizing a more cohesive family unit. I remember visualizing, and I wasn't like, I'm going to sit down and visualize right now. That's not, I just was doing it by nature because God has created us this way, with an imagination and with an ability to visualize and create. We're made in the image of God. He's a creator. We are a creator. So we get to create. One of the many things we get to create would be our family. So I remember visualizing things like I wanted my kids to have fun together. I wanted them to have relationships together. And I don't know that I really went beyond that right away at that first point of taking them out of public school. or public school. It was actually a small Christian school at the time. But I did visualize that. And you have to answer those questions for yourself. Like, take some time and actually have a thought process. Okay, so why am I homeschooling? What am I doing this for? Yes, I was maybe reactionary to what was going on in the system, but I want something maybe a little different. But what is that? And kind of think about that. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to go further down the road and then turn around and look back. So let's say you're going to go 1 year, go to the end of this year. So we're in October right now. Go to end of this year, go to June, and stand there and look back at your year and ask yourself, how did that go? What are you visualizing for how it went? I'm so happy and grateful that my daughter learned how to read, that my kids have better relationships now, that we had so much fun on all of those field trips, that we enjoyed every single snow day to its, I'm in Minnesota, can you tell? To its fullest capacity. Like every single snow day we made, hot cocoa and watched a movie, or, we did whatever. I'm so happy and grateful that it looked like this. And what is that for you? Because everybody's family is going to look different. So what are those things instead of just mindlessly walking through your year? And then the last thing for me has to be, this is a huge one, huge. So I don't know how many of you know that, it's in my bio, but people don't read your bio, and that's totally fine. But I've been married 34 years. So you may or may not be married, but for those who are, what I realized was, so we had homeschooled for a very, very, very long time, maybe about 15 years at the time, when my husband lost his job and the economy crashed, and then we actually went into business with each other. And by doing that, we began to mission together on something that we actually hadn't missioned on before. So because we were going in the same direction, we had to learn how to work together by building business together. And in the past, when I looked back, I realized that I was just living my life. I wasn't really thinking one thing or the other, but he was in corporate America and I was homeschooling my kids. So I had my homeschooling community over here of moms, and he had his community of workplace partners, workplace people. And so we actually were kind of going in two separate different directions. We'd come back together, at the end of the day and, like be about the kids or whatever, or about the next, whatever we're going to run around and do. We were on a hobby farm a lot of the time, and so we had chores and stuff like that. But for the most part, our socialization and everything was kind of, it was separate from each other, going in different directions, like, you know what I mean? Well, over time, that can be challenging on a marriage sometimes, right? Because you're like, maybe not understanding why one person is putting, importance and value on something, and why somebody else is putting importance and value on another thing, etc. And so what I want to say to that is, find things inside of your marriage that you can mission on together. It can revolve around the kids, but it doesn't have to. In fact, it can be something that you guys take up together so that it can be a part of maybe the missioning. Like you're going to learn something, let's say, together that helps the whole family. Like maybe I'm just going to, like, this is kind of a hot pie in the sky, but like let's say you're going to learn a language together so that you're missioning together on something. And then that's going to impact the family. Or, the two of you are going to, let's see if I can think, or you're going to mission together for like maybe a vacation that you want to take or whatever. For us, it was very much like when we got into business, that changed everything for us, because we had to learn how to work together. And so now we teach other couples how to do the exact same thing. I think it's very healthy for a marriage. It exposes a lot of pieces that you need to work on, but then you just like get stronger and stronger. Like I said, 34 years, and we've been in business for 10. So it made a huge difference. And my girlfriend laughed at me the other day. Well, she didn't laugh, but she was like, God, I've been thinking about that. Right at that 20-year mark, there can be issues. And you know what? It's true. There's just something about that shifts something. And I don't know necessarily what it is, but it just does. And so, hey, Ruthie, I was just talking about you for a second. I was actually saying that the comment that you made about 20 years and how, like, you can see that timing in marriage can expose a few things for people, like almost like the first 20 years, and I'll have to just do another live on this for you guys. The first 20 years can very much be, your first chapter, the first act of a play. So anyway, but find something that you can mission and you can vision on together, because the truth is that you're designing. You don't want to just go through this defensively, but instead offensively. And so for those who maybe started homeschooling with a heart for it, maybe you already had pictures in your head, but there's this whole new realm of people who are doing it in reaction to what's going on, and maybe they just need to understand, or need to hear, not understand, but they need to hear somebody say, you know what, design your family, like sit down and be intentional about what you're trying to create. And you will be so grateful that you did. So those are my 3 tips. And you know what? If you got value out of this, please share this video. Comment below what your greatest takeaway was. And you can always message me. I read all of my messages. If you have any questions at all, that would be great. So have a really good day, you guys, and have a fantastic weekend. It's Friday. So see you later. Have a good day.